there's a question that I would like to ask you all, because as the sponsor of the D&D club, I was really, trying to get figurines and monsters and maps and stuff for you guys to use, minis, status rings that you guys can use, just whatever you could use to make the game more interactive and inviting. And I've seen Linkolas use like an entire village, like we have a village. Robin, when you were here, or like last year, I think you used a graveyard that I purchased.
I tried to, but every time it came up, none of my players actually did anything that would cause battle there, so I never got the chance to, sadly.
Oh, okay.
I did use it 1 or 2 times, though, I think.
Okay.
And I wanted to use waterways, too, but that didn't work out.
Yeah, I have a water dungeon that I see you guys go off to run your campaigns. And sometimes you'll take a map, but a lot of the times you don't take maps. You kind of do theater of the mind, I think is what it's called, where, you're like, okay, you're kind of more giving a scenario than you are actually, here you are on the board and you need to get from this spot on the board to that spot on the board to have a battle. Is that accurate? Or do you guys just battle on there and you just sort of go, well, I'll just let my players move wherever they want?
Well, sometimes I bring out a map for battles, but a lot of the time I don't, because my players have a lot more fun imagining what's happening. When I feel like whenever I see miniatures on the table, it's hard for me to imagine the actual battle between the miniatures, because I know what they look like. That's how I'm imagining the character, by looking at it. But sometimes the miniature doesn't match up quite right, and so not having a battle map, not having miniatures, it helps quite a lot. It helps with the imagination of what the different characters are doing, of what my players are doing.
Okay, Hamlam, what do you? Because I don't see you really using a lot of maps or.
Yeah, if I'm feeling. Alright, well, how I decide if I'm going to use a map or not is just how I'm feeling that day. It just takes more effort to do a battle map, like picking out figurines and getting the map set up and then having to change it if everybody switches an area or whatever. I don't know, it's a little bit more effort in certain areas, and I feel like doing it in just kind of the mind is still really enjoyable, I think, for the people who are playing with me. But, I mean, if they want to, like if they say to me, like, hey, can we do battle map this time? Then, yeah.
Does it happen often where your players are like, hey, let's use a battle map?
No. I mean, that has happened a couple times, no doubt.
Do they know they can ask you to use a battle map? Or is that just like something you have, it's like a discussed kind of situation?
No, I'm like, hey, we can use a battle map if we want to. If you guys want to.
Okay. Linkolas, I've seen you use some battle maps, and I've seen you put together really cool, you've used like a whole village on your map, which I thought was super cool. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, yes, I do use battle mats. I usually do it for really main parts of the whole storyline, but it really also depends on who's in your campaign. Because for me, I my first year of DMing, I had a really good campaign. They were really chill. Well, I wouldn't say chill, but really going with the storyline. So I did use battle mats. But now in my current campaign, I don't really feel up to using it, because I know that they're not really going to pay attention to it anyway, and they're probably just going to think of it as action figures when it's really just a visual map of what's going on. So yeah, I don't use them as much. It really just depends on who's in your campaign.
Okay. All right, that's fair. That's totally fair. And that's going to be frustrating when you spend a lot of time setting out a mat, and then you've got your buildings and everything laid out, or you draw the the terrain, and your campaign members don't really pay attention to that. That's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, it makes me really just frustrated and makes me want to give up, but
I'm sorry. Yeah.
But yeah.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, I'd say with battle maps, if you're doing a boss fight that uses, or just any fight that uses any mechanics, like if you have to go over here and do something, I think it helps for the players to visualize that and yourself, to see like, oh, there's switches here, the other switch is there, you know, kind of that kind of thing. Or if you have something with mechanics, it helps a lot to, you know, visually see all of what's happening.
Okay. Stumbleduck, how do you feel about if your DM pulls out a map, a battle mat, or if they use one or not? Like, how do you feel about that?
I think that it can be nice, but it's also just some extra effort that you need to do. Last year, when I was in Hamlin's campaign, at the end of the year, he was using one, and I thought it was kind of nice, but I felt like it also added some distractions.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Thank you. Kauto, how do you feel about whether or not your DM uses a battle mat? Who's your DM?
Well, currently I'm not in the North D&D thing.
Oh, you're not participating in D&D Club right now?
Not right now.
Okay.
But last year, Linkolas was my DM. And just like he said, we did use battle maps a lot and a lot of figurines. And then since our campaign, I would say, wasn't as serious as most others, like we didn't have accents and all that, but like we just messed around a lot and it was just fun. We did use those minis and battle maps because it helped us, I don't know, be more creative and funny, because we would take this guy with a mohawk or something and say this guy's name is Charles, and if Charles dies we just flick him over, and then it just, I don't know, it's hard for me to visualize something in my mind of somebody dying, but when I just see the little minifigure fall over, it just, I don't know.
It's more, it makes it like, oh, okay, there's
a dead guy.
There's a dead guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, good, we've defeated that monster. Now it's on to the next or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a good visual for you. Okay. Yeah, I totally see how that could work in both directions. It might be one of those Dice Goblin, not Dice Goblin type of situation. My DM that we just had in my campaign, like after D&D Club is over, I go to my D&D group, and our last DM, we take turns DMing, and our DM Nate used to make these really cool, elaborate maps, and we used to come in and would be totally blown away. It was a little intimidating for anybody coming after him to be a DM, because they're like, oh man, what if I can't do as good a job? But you know, as long as you're putting that effort in and making the story interesting, I think, and involving your players, you know, I think that's a huge, I think that's the biggest thing, is how much are you involving your players. Let's talk about campaigns. Oh, you're over here napping. Like,
No, I'm not.
okay.
Never.
Hamlin, let's talk about, like, it seems like everybody, we kind of talked about this in the introduction. I see a lot of, I think everybody is using a homebrew campaign instead of using an actual campaign book. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about your campaign? Like, what, I know you were working on a campaign to bring new players in, and so I think you were working on a homebrew situation. Want to talk about your campaign?
What I'm doing, like, right now?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so I think, as I did talk about this in the interview with Linkolas, I did talk about this in the interview with Linkolas, where it's a lot more fun for the DM to come up with their own, like, big or exciting ideas that aren't just, you know, already written down on paper to do, and I feel like it's a lot more creative.
Okay, that's fair. Absolutely, I can see, you know, you creating your own world, and that's much more fun than a world that somebody else has created.
Yeah.
Robin, do you want to talk about your campaign?
Right now, my campaign is based a lot in current video game world, because I introduced a singular video game character, and everybody seemed to really want the rest of the campaign to be based in that, so I changed course, and Now it's a lot Undertale based.
Undertale?
Undertale is a, how do I describe Undertale? A 2D game about a child who fell into a type of world with a ton of monsters instead of humans. A lot of these monsters are a lot nicer than people would actually think. My table loves this character I introduced, named Toriel. She, among the Undertale community, is usually known as Goat Mom. But my characters, my players really like going through this world because they know all of these different characters. They know a bunch of the different things I'm introducing, and they know some of the mechanics that I'm introducing. And so I feel like it makes it a lot easier to understand when introducing things from different topics.
Okay, thank you. Linkolas?
Well, as I've mentioned before, I did do a homebrew campaign. My campaign is based around just like an evil spirit trying to take over the world, like the usual stereotypical D&D campaign. But it really didn't start like this. It started out when I just wanted to do like a Zelda themed ish campaign. A lot of people wanted to do that too, but after the first campaign, a lot of people were doing some bad things in the campaign and weren't really going with the storyline. So I had to redo the campaign and start from the beginning. So then, I started from there, from a new one based around a dark spirit stealing a dice-shaped relic, which caused chaos.
Oh, okay, cool.
Awesome.
Cool. So you got your inspiration from a video game, Linkolas, is that right?
Well, it was supposed to be from a video game, but I had to change it after some bad behavior from my campaign.
Your players?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Humlin, where did you get the inspiration for your campaign?
Well, I decided that this year, since for the past 2 years I've done a bit more of a exciting and with a lot of new stuff campaign, I decided that this year I'd do one for beginners and people who are just starting out. So it's more of a beginner-friendly campaign. So I let a bunch of people who have just joined or are thinking about getting into D&D, I gave them a campaign that they can kind of test the limits and with a little bit of a storyline too. I didn't want to make it completely directionless, but I wanted to make it so that anybody can just hop in and play, so that they can, ask me questions about it, and I can answer those questions.
Okay, great. Robin, where did you get the inspiration for your story? Yours came from a video game, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Should we talk about character creation and background information? Do you want to talk about that? Like, how do you, NPCs maybe? Like, do your NPCs have character? Do your NPCs, are they one-dimensional, like, basic kind of characters? Or do you allow your players to meet an NPC, and then the NPC goes along with you, follows you along in your campaign, and assists your campaign players?
Depends on the NPC. I did have plans for my NPC Toriel to follow them around the world and be kind of a more support kind of character. But all of my players but one had already played Undertale and had already been expecting the worst. So I kind of just went along with that, and now I'm kind of thinking of letting this next character, either Sans or Papyrus, run around with my characters for a good bit. But a lot of the characters right now in the town they're in, or at least about to enter, Snowden, are very one-dimensional. There are a good few that are a bit more fleshed out, but a lot of the characters, since they probably won't interact unless they end up interacting with them, like my players tend to do with useless NPCs, don't really have much character. But some of them may end up having to have character. But a lot of the time I don't really put a lot of effort into my characters unless they're going to play a big part.
Okay. What about you?
For NPCs,
Yes.
how I create them.
Yeah, like, do you give them a lot of thought and character, or you're just like, oh, there's a tavern, an innkeeper over there, and you're like, you have no idea what his name is, you have no idea,
It depends on the NPC, but if it's like a guide who is helping you through the story, then I'll put a bit of work into him. But other than that, I mean, the only NPCs that you see are just a storekeeper, a shopkeeper, or a random person walking down the street. I don't put work into them as much as like putting their exact metrics or height or whatever, or a backstory. I don't really do that.
Okay. All right, Linkolas, how about you?
Well, I do put a lot of work into my NPCs. I just think that each one should have like a different personality. Well, I mean, if it's just like a villager walking the streets, then I'm probably not gonna spend too much time on it. But if it's like a main character or villain, then I do spend quite a bit of time doing it. Or if it's a character that my players want to befriend, then I would usually develop that character more.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
I think it works both ways. Stumbleduck, when you run across an NPC, like when the DM introduces an NPC, do you ever wonder like why is the DM bringing this character into play, this NPC into play? Do you ever think maybe I should, I don't know, if I'm a rogue, maybe I should pick his pockets, or interact? Are you ever interested to interact with NPCs?
Not really, other than just talking to them to buy something, or if it's part of the storyline. Yeah, just don't really think about them. They're just kind of...
They're just there?
Yeah.
Okay. Kauto, do you ever... I think you want to interact with everyone and everything, in my opinion. So I think if you're... I mean, am I wrong? When you're playing and you meet a new NPC, do you ever just like want to know every detail, pick their pocket, take perception checks, that sort of thing?
Yeah, but the last thing I would do is just talk to them and ask for information. The first thing I would do would probably be something stupid, like light their eyebrow on fire,
Relatable.
steal one of their socks and give them the heel of the sock back, or like, I don't know, give them a piece of chocolate ball. Like,
Why the heel?
the heel, because it's a heel.
Specifically the pinky toe.
I have respect for NPCs, though. I do not kill any NPC unless I really have to, unless he's attacking me. Because, I'd never attack them or kill them or anything. I just mess with them. And, sometimes take the stupidest of things that do not give me anything. And sometimes I buy stuff from them and then sell it to them for more. But, that's basically all I do.
I never think about picking their pockets. I just pick their pockets.
You just do it.
I just do it. I don't think about it. It just happens.
Okay. You just pick everybody's pocket?
No, just things end up in mine.
Oh.
Some people sometimes yell out screaming, "Where'd their money go?" Sometimes I have an extra pouch of gold in my bag.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's a little bit of sounds like a little bit of chaos monkey type behavior.
Never.
Hamlin, how do you keep your players on the storyline? Like you have a particular direction, right? That you want your story to go. So how do you keep your players pointed or going, you're like, okay, let's go to this town over here, and they're like, oh no, wait, let's go in the forest. I mean, how do you keep them on the storyline? Like, is that difficult?
Well, it's always difficult. It's never easy to keep them in the right direction. I feel like if they're really being stubborn and not going to the place that you want them to go or doing the thing that you want them to do, I just don't make any more side missions or anything else that you can do on the side, so they get bored and do the main objective.
Okay.
It's literally all I do, and it works every time.
Okay, so you don't give them options.
I just, well, if they are doing the storyline, I give them other side stuff that they can do. But if they're not, they just decided to stop and completely ignore it and stay away from anything, I don't give them anything else to do.
Okay, fantastic. Linkolas, how about you?
Well, I'm kind of like Homeloom too, but with my players, what they do is they try to create their own missions. Like they think that there's like something underground or something instead of doing the main mission. So instead of like giving them no side quests, they just try to do stupid things, and they don't really want to do the main mission because they just yeah. But if I really need them to go on the main mission, I would usually just like destroy, like make something come after them, and then it like hunts them down until they get to where they need to be.
Oh, okay. So you kind of herd them in the direction that they need to go using NPCs.
Exactly.
Okay, nice. All right, Robin?
A lot of the time, my players never stay on task, so a lot of the time is always. But whenever they're not really on task, a lot of the time, a good idea for me is to make that the main task. Like, say my players are trying to delve through a cave. Uh-oh, this cave ended up in the enemy hideout where they were supposed to be on the other side of the continent.
Oh.
I wonder how that happened.
So you just get them where you need them to go, regardless of their actions.
Yeah, like they're trying to delve into a cavern for this small bounty that supposedly lives there. Bounty's already dead. Person they were originally trying to kill already killed him.
Oh, okay.
Now they're gonna get both bounties.
Okay. Kauto, when you, in a session, do you feel that you need to stay on task or on the storyline, or are you that chaos monkey that likes to drag everyone? You know, if you're supposed to go to a town, you want to drag everyone into the forest to see explore the forest and see what's in there.
Wow. This feels like a question that's really directed towards me.
I've asked everybody.
It's 100% target.
Yeah, I've asked everybody. I think, except for Stumbleduck, but he's next.
I don't drag people behind, I just don't move them forward. Like, while everyone else, I'm not stopping them from doing anything. While they're exploring the dungeon, I'm trying to build a nuclear bomb and place it somewhere
Casual artificer.
just casually. And then if somebody somehow walks over it, they're just dead.
Casual
Or
artificer.
something like that. Or like figuring out how to spread cardboard all over somebody's house.
All right.
Why?
Make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment on any of your opinions on our topics that we talked about this video or this podcast, and we'll see you next time. Make sure to check out our merch. It is linked in our profile. See you next
Please
time.
buy